Let's bring in Victoria Matiash of ESPN, also co-host of Pucks and Seven with Ryan Payton. Victoria, thanks so much for doing this. So off the top, we were talking about the Leafs and the Panthers, but specifically the Leafs, and trying to take away some positives, some negatives. Not too many positives, but overall, it probably wasn't that bad of a performance. What did you take away from Game 1?
I didn't think it was that bad at all. I actually thought that even by the end of it, they had the opportunity to win it if some certain things had went a certain way. I thought it was a pretty good look. I'm going to compare it to Game 1 against Tampa Bay, which was an unmitigated disaster.
Yes.
So this way, last night we saw the Leafs, or I should say Tuesday night, we saw the Leafs come out and the pace was good. They weren't tight. They weren't tightly wound like they were in the first game of the first series. They were fairly loose. It was excellent pace. They played with confidence. They weren't tentative enough. And having the first two power plays to start obviously is going to help in that regard. But I like the way that they looked in general. They were physical. They were hitting, maybe not hitting as much as the Panthers were, but they were hitting. And in general, I didn't think it was too bad. The biggest weakness, I will say, was defensively in their own zone. They couldn't stop. They had no answer for the Panthers' forecheck at all. They let them skate around too much. They're allowing the puck possession that they did. They're not going to get away with that. I thought the defensive pairing, particularly of McCabe and Brodie, was not good. And they're supposed to be the guys you're looking to suffocate the best offensive players on the opposition. They didn't do it. I don't think T.J. Brodie has had a great postseason altogether. So they're going to have to find some answers to keep up with the pace of Florida's offense, again, in their own zone, and do a little bit better of not letting them have their way with them, which I thought they did a little bit too much last night.
Yeah, Brodie hasn't been great. He got caught on that Verhaeghe goal, which kind of killed the Leafs, right? I felt as almost if the Leafs were trying to match Florida's game, where I thought maybe they just needed to play their own game. So heading into Game 2 now, if you're Sheldon Keefe, what adjustments do you think you need to make?
I don't know if you're really going to make any. And I know that's a really lousy, weak sauce answer, but I don't know that there is much to do. I don't know if there's any fiddling. Maybe you bring in Lafferty. I'm not sure about that yet. I want to think a little harder on that. I think you leave the deep pairings alone. I think maybe you fiddle with some matchups more than anything else and see if there's some matchups that maybe work a little bit differently. But really, I didn't mind it. I've heard a lot of criticism of the Leafs performance on Tuesday night, and I'm just not there. Except there was the brutal giveaway to Verhaeghe, especially after you tie it up. 2 beautiful goals, especially Matthew Nyes. What a gorgeous. And Bunting's was nice as well. And then just to let them back in the game that quickly really takes the wind out of your sails, takes the air out of the balloon, whatever you want to use. And if that doesn't happen, I still think it could have went in a different direction. They can't. I know what you're saying about how they tried to match Florida's game, and I think physically they definitely did, and they got sucked in by Matthew Tkachuk. That's going to happen. He is possibly the 3rd best player in the NHL this season. I know he's 5th in points, but besides, if I was starting a franchise right now, besides McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, I'm starting it with Matthew Tkachuk. He brings everything to the ice. He does everything well. I mean, they're in this position essentially because of him. I take nothing away from Sam Bennett or any other member of the Panthers, but they're there now because of him. And you can't solve him. So you have to also elevate your game, and the Leafs' best players, your Austin Matthews, your Mitch Marners, your Nylanders, your John Tavares's, Morgan Riley, who's been an absolute machine so far this playoff. They have to elevate their game, and they have to match him, because you're not going to really contain him. He's too good. He's too wily. He's too slippery. He's too physical. He's too everything-y. So you have to, you got to figure out how to do that. You can't solve him, so you got to match it.
Victoria, you mentioned criticism. William Nylander has been front and center with a whole lot of criticism, especially after, he didn't drive the puck to the net, took it all the way around. I find William Nylander's got all the skill set to be, and he's proved in the regular season, but in the playoffs, we see he disappears for big chunks of series and games. Why is that? If you could put your finger on anything, why does he disappear? Is it mentality? Is it just the style of play he plays?
If I had an answer to that, I would share it with the organization in exchange for bags of money. So I don't know what it is. I wonder if William Nylander knows what it is, because we all see the disappearing acts from time to time, right? He's such a talented hockey player. And then you're like, where did he go? What? Oh, he just gave up on this. He gave up on that. And then the next game he won't. And he looks like an absolute superstar. I'm not sure. I don't have an answer for that. I just think it's been interesting that if Justin Hall had not played so terribly in the first round, we would be talking about William Nylander a little bit more, because he disappears on too many occasions. I really don't know. Again, I don't know what the solution is for it. I still think we're going to get the odd game from him when he is going to be a game changer, and he's going to step up when maybe some other players don't. And that's what's going to help the Leafs immensely when it's too simple to say. It's like he's got to be in the mood. He's a professional hockey player. He's obviously in excellent condition. It's just, you see some of those guys out there and you're just like, ugh, just that little. Puljujärvi is another one who now in Carolina, who I watch. I'm just like, go. And different personalities, I suppose.
It's why they invented the word enigmatic, I think, isn't it? Really, these players just fit that word so beautifully, but it's so frustrating. You mentioned T.J. Brodie, right? I never thought I'd be on this show criticizing T.J. Brodie, who was the cheat key, it seemed, cheat code all season long. If a defense is playing poorly, put him beside T.J. Brodie. He'll sort it out. What is it in this series? Is it he's been targeted? I mean, tough assignments, in fairness. Is it his partner? What is the reason that?
I would say that, James, I think the assignments he's been given so far have obviously been the most difficult. I also sometimes wonder, when we get to this point in the season, if you're just not a bit tired. Right. And I know, again, that's a very simple answer, but he's played a lot and he's logged a lot of minutes this season so far. And if something is, and first of all, you never know what the injury story is. It's every time that a team is knocked out, you find out that somebody's, have 3 broken ribs and a torn ACL, and they have a herniated disc. I mean, Patrice Bergeron played that first series with a herniated disc. I have friends who can't sit on the couch comfortably with a herniated disc. Can you imagine playing a hockey game? It's ridiculous. So maybe something's bugging a bit, because he does seem to have lost a little bit of pace, especially in his own zone. And he's making, maybe there's a few more mental errors that go along with that, because you're not maybe feeling your best. But what are you going to do? Every team is in exactly the same position right now. Every player is in the exact same position. The Leafs don't have the excuse of having gone far in previous playoff seasons, like the Lightning or the Avalanche, who have such a shortened off season. They don't have that excuse. So whatever it is, he's got to figure it out. And I just wonder if we're going to see a different change in matchups, but those are, maybe you're matching the Shen Riley pairing up against different lines in game 2. I'm going to see how that works out, because I think Luke Shen has been a difference maker so far, his physicality, and I owe him an apology. I thought he'd be too slow in the postseason. So sorry, Luke. And he's not. He's kept up quite well. So we'll see how that works out.
No, I'm with you, Victoria. I thought Shen was going to be a 7th guy. Like, if you would have told me 10 years ago, Shen's going to leave the Leafs, he's going to come back and partner Morgan Riley, and Leafs are going to be the second round. But you're insane. But this is exactly what's happening. They're the best pairing at the moment. We're speaking to Victoria Matiash. Victoria, the Kraken, one of the most fascinating teams in the NHL right now, I think next to the Florida Panthers, based on what they're doing. One of the best 5-on-5 teams in the NHL. They go to Dallas. They steal one in overtime. They played extremely well, by the way. I just don't know where I'm at with this Kraken team. I truly want to believe that they can make a true cup run, but I'm not there yet. Where are you at with Seattle?
Well, I didn't pick them to make the playoffs in the first place, so I was wrong. Okay. And then I didn't pick them to beat the Avalanche, so I was wrong. And again, I now have on record on ESPN.com, I have Dallas in 6. So of course the Kraken won the first game. How else is that going to turn out? So, I mean, when Joe Pavelski scores 4 goals, if I told you guys, Joe Pavelski is going to score 4 goals in game 1 and the Dallas Stars are going to lose, the way that Ottinger has been playing so far in the entire team. Because you think Pavelski is going to score 4. Well, Robertson will have 1. Rupe Hintz will have 1, because he's been a superstar. It's just been ridiculous. But the Kraken play their game. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. David Hackstall has them so well bought in to the system they play that is free of superstars, but they all do it. They all contribute their bit. 15 players scored a goal in the first round. For a while, it was 14, and then Bjorkstrand was the hero in the elimination clinching game. He hadn't scored yet, and of course, he's the one who's going to score a couple of goals, knock the Avalanche out of it. They had their team approach to it. As long as Philip Grubauer isn't awful, if he's not terrible, then they have a shot against anybody. I can't believe I'm even listening to myself when Jared McCann is like your lead scorer with 40 goals. It's a team. It's a team of everybody. And everybody's just not mediocre. That's not fair. They're just good hockey players. There are no superstars, and look where they are, and look at how not silly. They didn't make the Stars look silly because it was still a tight game that was decided in overtime. But every goal against Ottinger was good. He didn't let in anything weak. He didn't have a bad game, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how the Stars respond. I can't even imagine Pavelski in that dressing room afterwards. Like, guys, I came back from a concussion. I scored 4 goals. What else do you want from me here? Like, we couldn't get away with a W, but it was, yeah, they're fun to watch. They're fun to cheer for sure.
Yeah, I'm all in the Kraken to come out of the West. I would say the Panthers, but they're playing the Leafs. I can't really say that just yet. Victoria, thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Oh, whenever you guys want. I love doing this kind of stuff. Thanks for having me.
Okay.